Hi, this is Lori from GLP-1 Journey in Review. Today, we are doing a video in my interview series where we talk to people about their weight loss journey. Today, we have with us Ginger, who also has a YouTube site, Ginger Goes GLP-1. We'll be talking to her about that also. I want to remind everybody that I am not a healthcare provider. My guest is not a healthcare provider. We're talking about what works for us. It is not intended for medical advice. If you are planning on a weight loss journey, I strongly advise that you see your healthcare practitioner and get advice from them. So, all that being said, Ginger, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us about yourself?
Yeah, hi, my name is Ginger and my channel is Ginger Goes GLP-1. Like you said, Laurie, thank you very much for having me here today. I have been on a GLP-1 since the 1st of October 2024. So I'm coming up to my 1 year mark. And yeah, I've lost 80 pounds so far. And yeah, the big plan was going to be 100 in a year, but I had to let that go a month ago and I've made my peace with it. So, but yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you today and, just to open up a little bit and so people can get to know
Oh,
me
awesome.
and my journey so far.
Oh, awesome. I mean, you're doing great. So, yeah,
Thank you.
that's what counts. Are you on Monjaro?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm currently on a 10 milligram pen. So I went up quite slowly. Um, when I started, there wasn't as much talk about stay on the lowest dose possible back when I
Hmm.
started. And I just followed the regimen. I did the first month. I class myself as a hyper responder. So
Hmm.
within hours of taking the first shot, I had zero hunger, zero cravings, and all of my food noise was gone. So that was very unusual. I was quite shocked by that. And so I went up to the 5 milligram pen the next month. And it was only then I was starting to pick up through other people's vlogs and what was
Hmm.
being sort of spoken about that stay on the lowest dose possible. And I was like, oh, well, I missed that window of opportunity. So I stayed on the 5 milligrams for, I think it was 3 months. I stayed on the
Hmm.
on the 5 milligram. And then eventually I was the least happy on the 5 milligram. I was really happy on 2.5. I went up to 7.5. And that's when I really hit my stride. I loved 7.5. Yeah. And I only went up to 10 milligrams, I think about 8 weeks ago.
Uh, you're in the UK, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. I'm down in Cornwall. So I'm the
Okay.
foot pointing towards America. So
So I just briefly want to talk about what's happening in the UK.
yeah,
Prices go up starting tomorrow. This will
tomorrow.
probably come out in a couple weeks, so it'll be a little bit of old news, but people get the idea. Uh, are you prepared for that? Have you had any problems getting the pens?
Yeah. So I advised caution to everybody
Hmm.
initially because the news story that originally came out, it was a very short story, and the information that everybody picked up on was this 170%
Right.
price increase. And from what I was reading in the article, because I read most media like quite critically,
Hmm.
and from what I was reading, it didn't indicate that it was be 170% increase to the consumer. The way I read it was it would be 170% increase from the from the pharmaceutical company to the providers. So when it all kicked off and everyone was then talking, oh, it's going to be £500, it's going to be 500, £600. I was always a bit nervous about that because I thought, I don't think that is correct. Um, and I think that's proven out in the last couple of weeks. But even just the other day, Laurie, there was a report in one of the more salacious newspapers here saying, oh, U-turn from the pharmaceutical company. They've gone back on their 170% price increase. And that wasn't true either. They'd got that wrong as
Mhm.
well. Because the suppliers have slowly been trickling out their prices, the assumption was that the pharmaceutical companies had reversed their decisions. They hadn't. The providers just realized that if they passed all of the costs on to the consumers,
Right.
then nobody would be buying their products anymore. So I think they settled on as near to a happy medium as we're probably going to get.
Mhm.
But to answer your question about supply, I tried not to stockpile.
Mhm.
I like to be quite moderate in my approach, so I tried not to stockpile. I ordered my next pen as it was due, and then they did say that I could order another one. So I did order the second pen just to have an additional one in the lower price bracket,
Yeah.
and nothing happened for 2 weeks. It just sat there, and I was just about to send an email saying, "What's happening?" when I got a
Mhm.
notification that it had been dispatched. So, I have got another one, and then I'm just gonna deal with the prices going forward.
Mhm.
I love Mounjaro. I don't particularly want to switch. I believe I have the additional benefit from the GIP that is
Right.
included in Mounjaro, correctly or incorrectly. I feel I benefit from that. So I'm not particularly interested in going on to the Wegovy at this time, but that might be something I could look into during maintenance.
Mhm. Now, I just heard last night, and again, I didn't have time to research it
Yeah.
because I had interviews here planned, that they're taking away the golden dose. Have you heard anything?
I knew it was gonna be coming. If that is the case, that does not surprise me. Us Brits, we're not rule followers, I'm afraid,
Mhm.
and, there's been too
Neither are we in America.
there's been so much shouting about, "Oh, the 5th dose, this is how you get the 5th dose," and, and I thought, "Oh, they're gonna take that away." I haven't heard that, but if that is the case, it doesn't surprise me at all.
So, I mean, I just wonder, like, how people are gonna really be able to prime it. I mean, they're gonna have to put some extra in to prime it.
Yeah,
It might not be a full dose.
yeah,
Uh, and one of my questions to people that either use the golden dose or that are now stockpiling, I know, like, I get mine obviously in the United States, and I
yeah,
use a compound which is a generic, which is a whole nother controversy in itself.
yeah.
But they tend
There's
to
a
put
Mochi
extra.
scandal at the moment, isn't there? Mochi versus
Yes,
Lilly.
and
Yeah.
that's actually kind of well, they dropped it yesterday, supposedly,
Oh,
or
okay.
Mochi actually won
Oh,
yesterday,
brilliant.
but they have the right to refile in different wording if they want. But
Yeah.
anyhow, like if you're stockpiling, like I have to do a check-in for my next dose, and if it takes too long, they're going to say, hey, either send me a copy of your latest prescription or you have to start all over.
Oh,
And like
wow.
I know people in the UK are getting it from multiple suppliers to save the money. Like what happens when you check in with one of these, 2 months from now? Are they going to make them start all over?
I don't know. I don't know what the
It's
landscape is gonna look like. I think we need to just let the dust settle, and I think,
absolutely
we've got an expression in the UK, "Wind your neck in," which means, like, just, pull yourself back from keep talking and things, and I think everyone at the moment just needs to wind their neck in because I think we're digging ourselves into a hole with our non-rule following and our, shouting about the 5th dose and how we microdose the pens. And that's the other thing is that they have the option to make the pen unbreakable, to make it impenetrable, so that the only way to get it out is with the clicks, or I don't know
right.
how they could do that at the moment. That would
And
probably be more of a price issue for Lilly at the
right.
moment, but,
Um,
you know
in, in the US, our pens, you only get a 1 week in each pen. So
Yeah,
basically, you get 4 pens for the month. So
mm,
people can't split their dose or microdose
yeah,
or anything like that. So that isn't an option. And as far as the cost, um, from everything I'm reading, It costs Eli Lilly about $5 for every dose, $5 American, and roughly between 75 cents and $1.20 for each pen. So there's a lot of profit.
There's a lot of profit, yeah. And
There is.
I will say, you know, that like for all the I mean, I used to live in America for 10 years. You know, I lived in Chicago
Mhm.
for 10 years. And so I'm very familiar with the US healthcare system and pharmacy, you know, prices and you know, things. And I always said to people, like when they were complaining about the costs here, I was like, we've got no idea here. We've just got no idea in comparison to what the US are paying. And also that there's a lot of people here assume that everybody is getting it on insurance. You know, and that's not the case either,
Mm.
you know, so that there are a lot of misconceptions. But obviously the way things are in the UK with the economy, we do earn a lot less than the average American for similar jobs, and our cost of living at the moment is ridiculous. I heard something on the radio the other week that our electricity and gas costs are 15 times what it is in the US.
Wow.
So, you know, we are struggling financially here. Um, so even though we're still paying a lot less than the US,
Right.
comparison wise, it will leave a lot of people sort of struggling to try and find that money. So we need all we can. But you know the pharmacies, obviously it's a rigged system, isn't it? You know,
It is.
we're never gonna change.
And and when I first heard of the what is it? I forgot. It just slipped my mind the name of the act. The Most Favorable Nations Act.
Oh
You know,
yes, yeah,
never in my mind did I think that they were going to raise prices everywhere. I thought, you know, it was to lower prices like in here in Australia and
yeah,
that type of thing. But then again, I'm not a, you know, big pharma, so, you know, who would
yeah.
ever think that they would do the right thing? Yeah.
Gosh, are we so surprised? You know,
But
yeah,
I know lately, like Eli Lilly has been looking like the villain, you know, and
yeah,
Nova Nordis is just kind of hanging back there and saying, you
yeah.
know, who's the
I
villain now?
correct me if I'm wrong. Novo Nordisk lowered their prices of Wegovy,
Hmm.
I believe, to try and
Right.
look more favorable, you know, so,
Right.
um, yeah,
Yeah,
but who knows?
kind of a mixed bag because they lowered it, but we have what's called NovaCare, and which is like Eli Lilly Direct, where you could buy it
Right,
straight from them in
yeah.
vials rather than in the pen, and it's the same price. What they've done is they've lowered it now at the pharmacies to the same price it would be if
Ah,
you were
right,
going right through them. So it's not really a lower price, but if you weren't bothering with Lilly Direct and you still wanted the pen through
yeah.
your local pharmacy, uh, and you didn't have insurance, bless you.
Excuse me,
They've
sorry.
lowered it. They've lowered it to that price.
Right.
So so anyhow, like, what made you decide to use a GLP-1 medication in the first place?
Well, Laurie, I'm not gonna lie, I was so anti the whole, like, Ozempic, because that was the only word I knew
Mhm.
was Ozempic, and I was like, "Oh, I can't believe these people are on Ozempic and Ozempic," you know? And I like, there was no way I was gonna do that. I thought it was ridiculous, and I didn't know how much it was gonna cost or anything like that. And so yeah, I was very dead set against it. The way to lose weight is diet and exercise, and it's my personal failing that I've not been able to lose weight. It's all my fault. I eat too much food. I binge eat. I eat too much potato chips and chocolate and stuff like that. So yeah, I wasn't going to do it. And I tried different plans over the years, like we all have. You know, I've tried
Mhm.
everything out there, and some with success, varying success. But I I went to my nephew's wedding. Funnily enough, the nephew I've just come back from seeing this weekend, and went to his wedding. and I had on a lovely dress. I was all done up, and I thought I looked marvelous. You know, I'd really turned out nice for the day. And they sent pictures out after the photographers had done all of the things, and it was an unguarded, a candid shot of me, and I was enormous. I was enormous, and I was shocked beyond belief. I couldn't believe that's what I looked like, because I thought that day, you know, with all of my undergarments on, like holding me in, and you know, I thought I was looking pretty good, but yeah, it was that was a real shock to the system. That was in the August, and then in the September, I went away to Bulgaria just on a city vacation, like
Mhm.
a city trip, and we went out to the countryside, and like there was like a small mountain climb, and I always pushed myself. I was still quite healthy. I was still quite fit, even though I was very big,
Mhm.
and you know, I pushed myself to do this mountain climb, and I was in trouble. And anyway, cut a long story short, I got up to the top and then had to come down. And when I was coming down, I slipped. So we're on a mountain, and I
Mhm.
slipped and I fell quite badly on the rocks. And I really cut myself up on my arm, my ribs, and my hip, the back of my leg. But because I was so embarrassed, I jumped up and I was like, "Oh, I'm fine. Don't make a fuss. I'm fine. I'm fine." And yeah, I'd fallen quite significant way down, and like I said, I was really bashed up. And funny enough, an American lady, she just said, "Are you okay? You really took a hard hit there." And I was like, "No, no, I'm fine, I'm fine." And I got into the bus and I went and sat at the back, and I just had a little weep to myself because I was so embarrassed, but I knew it was because of my weight. You know, I was quite off balance and things.
Mhm.
And literally on that day, that was the 15th or the 16th of September, I just thought, I'm going to look into that Ozempic when I get back to the UK. And the turnaround from I'm never doing that to being a flag waving, oh my God, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me, was a transition of about 2 weeks. So I went, it was like being born again. It was, the transition was so monumental from one extreme to the other. So yeah, that's how I ended up. And the only reason I chose Manjaro wasn't because of the GIP at that time. It was because
Mhm.
the semaglutide, they were saying you could lose 15 or 16%. I can't remember what it is. And the Manjaro or tirzepatide, obviously they were saying you could lose 22%. And I'm like, I've got more to lose.
Mm.
I'm gonna choose the bigger number. So that's how I settled on that one.
Yeah, very interesting. Um, so, when you first started, did you experience any side effects?
The uh, not not bad side effects.
Mhm.
Like I said, when I first started, I've got ADHD as well. Not terribly bad, and I kind of manage it myself. You know, I'm aware of
Mhm.
when I'm like spinning my wheels and I'm you know getting a bit heightened. Um, so I've always been able to manage that. But the noise in my head, of which 80% of it would have been food noise, probably.
Mhm.
You know, there's always a radio station going on playing three different songs. I'm writing a shopping list. I'm attending a meeting at work, a very important meeting talking about that, but writing notes about everything I need to do on the house, in the garden, and you know.
Mhm.
And so I took the Manjaro at night the first time, and by bedtime, I was thinking, gosh, I feel a weird sensation in my tummy. I don't know what that is. It must be the medication. I woke up in the morning not hungry, didn't even want my morning coffee. But the first thing I noticed was when I woke up, my first thought was, am I dead? Because I had zero noise, nothing. I literally
Mm.
woke up and I couldn't understand. I had no radio station, no chatter, no food noise, nothing in my head. And it was the most bizarre thing. And I got up and I was
Mm.
walking around and I was literally opening the cupboards, looking at the food and the coffee and the and I was like, I don't want any of this. I don't understand what's going on. My first negative side effect was when I tried to eat. And I did eat. I made myself a normal lunch. I hadn't wanted breakfast. I made myself a normal lunch. I ate the lunch, and then I had that Christmas Day or Thanksgiving Day full feeling from what normally would have been a snack or a light lunch to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a very uncomfortable afternoon. But I've had the odd bit of constipation. And I say the odd bit,
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm really lucky compared to a lot of people. I haven't had too many side effects at all. I've had the odd headache when I've gone up a dose. I had an itchy spot in the middle of my back for about 4 months where it's so bad. I had an implement in every room that I could scratch my back with. I have ongoing, it's called patulous eustachian dysfunction, which I've been told actually is more to do with weight loss than actually the medication. I'm just trying to think I have had other side effects, but nothing severe. And I've only had 2 episodes of nausea that were severe enough for me to sort of like look to have some Pepto-Bismol or chew some gum or something. So I've got off lightly, and even the side effects that I have had, they haven't really bothered me too much. I'd be taking away
That's
from the
great.
people that are really suffering if I said that.
At what point did you realize that obesity is a disease and it's not your fault, or have you come to that realization?
It's something, I'm not going to lie, it's something I struggle with. And I don't know if that, so I'm not taking away from anyone that says obesity is a disease, and I am 90% of the way there to thinking that it is. But because I've always said this is my fault, I've done this to myself, I've overeaten, I'm in control of my own life, I can't blame other people or things. That's where my struggle is. So, and I don't know where I got that from, society or, just personal accountability, I don't know. But I did do an episode some time ago, is obesity a disease? And the
Mm-hmm.
majority of people said yes, and gave me very good reasons why. That it's a classification, and that you can get treatment for it and things like that. And I've come around a lot more than I had before. So like I said, I'm not taking away from anyone that is
Mm-hmm.
wholeheartedly invested in that. Mine is just, I've always taken accountability for myself. So whether that's a punishment thing or not, I don't know, but it is something that I've wrestled with.
I heard a very interesting saying the other day where somebody said that overeating causes obesity, and then they were corrected and said, no, obesity causes overeating.
I heard the same thing, and that resonated with me 100%. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
definitely with that. Um, yeah. So, but it goes to show you how we are indoctrinated by society, by what we hear, and our own
Mm-hmm.
level of blame, shame, self-hatred. All of the things. Um, so yeah, I've always classified myself in general as a failure because I haven't been able to lose weight and keep weight off. I've lost weight over the years, significant amounts, but once I hit menopause or perimenopause, the things that I did before that worked didn't work any longer. And I made that my fault. I still made that my fault. Um, but no, I heard that and I was like, yeah, no, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, and it's like, again, just lost my train of thought. Sorry, it's been a bit a long day for me.
That's all right.
Um, so let's move on. What does a day of food look like for you?
I've always resisted the doing what I eat in a day. And the reason I do that is because as I've gone through this GLP-1 journey, all of the things that I thought I had, like, not wrong, but like the foods that I knew I reacted negatively to, but choose to ignore because I really
Mhm.
loved eating them. Because I've been on a GLP-1, I've been listening a lot more carefully to what my body is saying to me. And all of those foods that I'm like, I can't eat dairy. Gluten doesn't do well for me. Some vegetables I react to and things like that. Because I've done that, I am aware of my intolerances now. So I've never wanted to do the what I eat in a day because it's so restrictive compared to what other people are able to eat. And I never wanted anyone to think, oh, I must follow what Ginger's doing
Mhm.
because that's the way you're supposed to do it on a GLP-1. Um, but a day of eating for me in general would look something like, if I am going to eat breakfast, it will probably be two soft boiled eggs. If not, then I will have a lunch brunch, and it will be a large bowl of homemade chicken soup with the vegetables in it that I can
Mhm.
have, or a salad with chicken or salmon or beef or something like that. And then dinner would kind of be the reverse of what I didn't eat for lunch. So it would be a steak or it would be soup, fish and vegetables. Yeah, so very high protein, pretty low carb, and lots of vegetables that I can eat. But even though I'm low carb, so in the day I am low carb, but if I want a packet of potato chips or crisps in the evening, I will have,
Mhm.
like, we have small serving bags here, like a
Mhm.
25-gram bag. I'll have one of those, and I might have, like, one of the Lindor ball chocolates or
Right.
things like that. So I'm not eating an excess of carbs through the day. I will allow them to be my treats, but if I do want potato, I'll have potato. It's not, I'm not restricting
Absolutely.
myself from the foods that I can eat, but I function better on a low carbohydrate diet.
And to me, that's what makes this medication so good is that you actually don't have to restrict what you're eating. You just are happier with the smaller amounts.
Yeah, yeah,
So
totally.
getting getting back to my thought before, uh,
Okay.
we've all we've all lost a lot of weight before. Like I know I've lost on Weight Watchers, on keto,
Mhm.
on low carb, on carb cycling, soup diets, all these fad diets and stuff like that. The problem, I think, in my opinion, is the maintenance, how to keep it off.
Mm.
And I think that the GLP-1 medications, they're still trying to figure that out because I've been on maintenance since January, and to me, that's been the hardest thing. Because I was actually on 10 milligrams, and I worked myself down a little bit, and I tried like stretching it out because I didn't want to continue losing weight, but I didn't want to really eat too much more, or I definitely didn't want to eat bad food. I mean, I want this to be a healthy
Yeah,
lifestyle. So, there really isn't a lot of guidance for maintenance. It's, people are now trial and error. And I think even with the diets before, if there was a way to maintain it, we wouldn't be yo-yoing like we have been.
yeah,
And again, I know they're doing studies now on maintenance, and I'm one of these people that think until something better comes along, I probably will be on a GLP-1 medication for the rest of my life. What dose, what amount, how long, which medication, again, they're still working on that. So,
yeah.
I don't know if you share a similar opinion or have a different opinion or.
I Yeah, I mean, I think when I first started this, it was gonna be a tool I would use until I'd lost the weight.
Mhm.
Well, first of all, is it gonna work? Am I gonna lose the weight? Because you
Right.
do go into it wondering, is it gonna work for me? I didn't realize it would work just as fantastically as it did for me. I mean,
Mhm.
I am the model of a GLP-1 user, that just the way I've lost weight steadily, relatively easily, along the way with minimal side effects. I've really lucked out on all of those. But a couple of months in, I did think, and I've said many times, I'm going to be on it for at least 2 years. So it wasn't going to, I was going to reach goal. So I was going to do £100 in a year. That was the original goal. And then the second year was going to be playing around with the doses or staying on it just to see where I could land and, learn better eating habits. And the thing is, like many of us, I know the correct way to eat. I know what's
Absolutely.
good for me. I know how much is too much and what I should be eating when. And, I just struggle to stick with it.
Hmm.
I've always joked I could be a dietitian, I could be a nutritionist. I know all of the macros and the, vitamins and what's got what in it and things. But I've just never been able to maintain it. So it was going to be a year to lose it, a year on a maintenance dose, and then come off it. But the
Hmm.
longer I've gone on with this, the more I think, why would I stop this? Because it's improved my mental health. I know I've had a
Hmm.
blip recently with mental health, which I've talked about significantly um, on my channel, just in all of the ways that I've approached it. I've always said I don't know if it is the GLP-1 or if it's just life, and that's an additional factor. But when I first started it, my mental health was amazing. I had the best winter of my life. I get seasonal affective disorder, and it's the
Hmm.
first time I've not been bothered by seasonal affective disorder. And
Hmm.
my mood was stable. I just all of the things. I'm leaning towards exercise. Before it was like I'd make myself go exercise, whereas now I'm like, oh, I want to get on the trampoline, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. I've naturally gravitated towards healthier foods I used to like, but I wouldn't choose. Now I'm choosing them over the foods I would have
Hmm.
previously eaten, my old favorites. Um, like my ADHD chatter is gone, my food noise is gone. My ADHD chatter came back a little bit, but never to the amount that it did before. Why would I want to stop the GLP-1 for those benefits as well?
Hmm.
So I'm potentially going to be a lifer. I mean, if they kept putting
Hmm.
the price up, like you,
Right.
I'd be looking for that happy place where I can stretch the dose out of the smallest dose of, the maximum from the minimum over the extended.
Right.
So, but so that's where I am at the moment. Is I think that will be in my future.
Have you heard anything about the orforglipron that's coming out, or the
The one that
retatrutide
they
that'll be
need to
available?
change the name of. That's a terrible name. It's the
Tongue
worst
twister there,
name
yeah.
ever. Yeah, and I think we'll be looking at a very different landscape in the next 2 to 5 years
Hmm.
of what is available. Is that the one that's going to be an oral medication?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm kind of looking forward to it, 'cause being on maintenance, I don't care that it's not quite as effective.
yeah,
I think it'll give me more of an even thing because I'm taking
yeah,
it every day. Because, like, I know now when I take my medication, I do it weekly. Usually, like, the last day, uh, I'm not going to say that I get the munchies, but I, I do get a little bit more cravings. I am
yeah,
able to control them, but I wish it was just something a little bit more smooth, where, like, my shot day and the next day, like, I don't have to force myself to eat, but there's definitely a difference in the amount that I eat, day 1 and 2 versus midweek and later in the week.
yeah.
So I'm hoping that works that part of it out.
Yeah, I definitely, like I said, because I'm a self-diagnosed hyper responder, I definitely have days where I have to force myself to eat. There are days when
Mhm.
I could go all day without eating, and that's not my plan. I've never been one of these
Mhm.
people that is like, I'm going to lose the maximum amount of weight in the shortest time possible. I don't think that's healthy. I don't agree with
Yeah.
people that are sort of putting that out there as, trying to maximize the benefits. Slow and steady was always going to be the way I wanted to do it. But
Mhm.
there are definitely days where I have to push myself to eat. And in the beginning, like a lot of people, I just loved the fact that I wasn't hungry. I mean, there were days I was eating 600 or 800 calories because I was just like, this is great.
And
I'm not hungry
that's
at
not good.
all. That didn't last longer than the first month when I went, I don't think that's healthy actually.
No.
But no, even now, and I am split dosing at the moment. So
Hmm.
my 10 milligram I split into 2 doses over the week now. And it's working better for me. I'm hungrier every day. So not every, I'm not getting hungrier every day. Every day I'm
I
hungrier
understand.
than when I take it once a week, but the hunger is still within, it's still controlled by the GLP-1. So I'm not, looking for food all the time. It's just like, oh, I could eat, rather than those first 2 or 3 days where I'm like, oh, what am I going to eat? I'm not hungry. I don't want anything. Um, so yeah, I think it is working out better for me doing it this way,
That's great.
just sort of keeping an even keel. So like you said, the or blah 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 flan or whatever it's called, that
Or
might be one for
Fargafron.
me to consider in the future.
And I'm hoping that, when that comes out and then the retatrutide, it'll bring the prices down of the older stuff because everybody
Yeah,
wants what's new and shiny. But
yeah,
and
yeah.
then again, we're dealing with big pharma, so who knows?
I love how hopeful you are, Laurie. Let's put it that way.
I used to be a little bit more hopeful until, the last, like I said, this whole thing in the UK really, has me rethinking how
Yeah,
big pharma is actually thinking, not at all about patient care or, what's good for people. 'Cause
yeah,
I'm not against them making profit, but it's like really.
yeah, yeah,
So you're lucky there that you have the quick pens because, like I said, in America, you get just the one pen. There's no way to split it. I guess technically you could take a pen and you could draw it all out and do it that way, but that's kind of a pain in the butt, to do it that
yeah,
way.
yeah,
So I do like the fact that we have compound, which during the shortage they were allowed to make it legally,
yeah,
and they still are. They're just adding vitamin B to it and so forth, saying it's a custom dose. But I do like the fact that I could adjust my dose every week if I
yeah,
want to. Like, example, I'm on 7.5. When went down from 10 to 7.5, I tried to go down to 5 and the food noise started coming back too much and I went back to 7.5. Now I'm considering doing a little bit slower, like going from 7.5 to like 6, trying that for a few weeks.
yeah,
And because I mean, I just think any medication, the less you take, is probably better,
yeah,
let alone a little bit more cost effective, and so
yeah,
forth. So that is one advantage we have with the compound, and we do have an alternative when big pharma goes absolutely crazy, like they did with you guys.
yeah.
So back, do you weigh yourself daily or do you weigh yourself weekly?
No, no. Yeah, if I do the daily, and it was funny because I noticed that when my mood dropped, like I said, I'm coming off the back of about 6 to 8 weeks of very low mood, but I've had a lot going on in my life as well. So the Manjaro was still working. I was still like, the food noise was there, and which was unusual to be so stressed, like with work and everything that was happening in my life, to be so
Hmm.
stressed and not have that. I'm going to eat this to make me feel better, and then I'm going to eat that, and I'm going to have a creamy coffee from Starbucks, or so that planning, that just constant. What can I do to make myself feel better? What can I do to change my mood? So I didn't have that, but what I did notice is that I was stepping on the scale more. So it was like I wanted some outlet to put my mood into. So when I was weighing more frequently, the weight I would see would then dictate the rest of my day. And that's why I don't weigh daily, because if I step on the scales and I'm 2 pounds more than I was yesterday, which happens for unknown reasons, you know, you step
Hmm.
on the scale and you're like, have I gained 2 pounds overnight? It's just not possible. Then that throws my whole day off. So I weigh on a Saturday, and that's it. I weigh on a Saturday. That's the weight I take. Even if I know I'm full of water, I had a really salty, and you know my
Hmm.
weight's up. That's what my weight is. I sometimes weigh on a Sunday, but I don't count that as my official weight. I just say, "Oh, it has come off," you know. But the Saturday is the official weigh day.
Are you a goal person? Like I know when I first started, my first goal was just to lose 10 pounds. After that, it was to get from obese into the, even though it's outdated, the BMI chart of
Yeah,
overweight, and then from
yeah,
there to normal and so forth.
yeah.
Do you believe in the goals or?
I am the most, I talk about it all the time. I have mini goals galore. So because in the UK we use a mixture of pounds, stone, and kilos,
Right.
I use all of them to set mini goals. So, you know, if I'm around I'm around the 77 kilos, you know, so my next big one for kilos will be to get to 75 kilos. You know, if I've just gone into last week, I just went into a new bracket um, of the 160s. So I was 169.8, and that's good enough for me. I'm in the 160s, you know, so I
There you
use that.
go.
And then in the stones, I'm 1 pound off going into the 11s. So I'm 12 stone at the moment. So if I can get into the 11s, so I have all of those mini goals. I have no clothes left in my wardrobe. I ran out of clothes about 2 months ago. And even when I was visiting my sister, she's always been the tall, skinny, lovely one, you know. She's always like, she's been very contained, she's very moderate, you know, she can have one glass of wine and that's it. I've never been able to do that, but she's she's a UK size 10, 12. And she wore a dress to a wedding last year, not the wedding I went to, but a different one. And I just said I want to try on that red dress. And so I have her dress as a goal for me. I tried it on, I got it done up to past the waist, but I couldn't get it done over my back and my
Hmm.
boobs, basically. So I'm using one of her dresses as a goal. Um, but yeah, so I don't have any clothes goals left. They're all I've gone through all of those. I'm in new clothes, which is great. What a great problem to have, you know, to have
Hmm.
to buy a new wardrobe. So
What was your best non-scale victory?
um I think getting into a pair of jeans that that I'd bought over 15 years ago. So I can't wear them
Hmm.
because they're just not in fashion. I mean, they look ridiculous, you know. But to get into these jeans, so I bought them when I first came from America to the UK. I loved these jeans, and I gained a bit of weight when I arrived in the UK. So I bought those jeans in 2008 or something, and I wanted to get into those jeans, and I never got into those jeans. And I put them on, I kept trying them on. Oh, I can get them up over my thighs, you know, oh, I can get them onto my hips, kind of thing. And then the day I got the button done up and the zipper up, it was like amazing. And then obviously it's like, can I sit down in them? But you know what? I was out of those jeans in about 4 weeks, you know, so I had a very short window of time in those jeans. But those jeans, they mocked me from the closet for the longest time. And then the other non-scale victory is I wanted to go horse riding for years, and there's a weight limit in the UK for horse riding. And I wanted to get on a horse again because I used to ride a lot. And I did pass the weight, but because I'd started exercising too robustly, too incorrectly, I tore my rotator cuff, and
Mm.
I was vetoed from horse riding until it was all healed. So I only got on a horse 3 weeks ago, No, 4 weeks ago now. But that was amazing just to be back in the saddle again and just and like 4 stone lighter than the actual weight limit, you know. So that was
Awesome.
really good. Yeah.
So tell us about your channel and why you decided to start it.
Yeah. So my channel. So I'll start with the reason I started it. I've always wanted to have a like a YouTube channel just for me, just for a
Mhm.
confidence thing, you know. And I've got curly hair, but it's not curly enough to do, you know, a curly hair YouTube channel. I love coffee, but I only really love a particular brand and blend of coffee. So I can't talk about that every week, you know, that's too boring. So I always kind of wanted something and I didn't know what it was. And I was 2 weeks in to this journey and I was watching a YouTube video and then it gives you the recommended and
Mhm.
then somebody said, just start a YouTube channel. It doesn't matter if you're any good or, you know, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And I went, oh, I've got the perfect vehicle now. I can talk about my weight loss. And so I literally grabbed the camera, bearing in mind, I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist. I don't like to give my information to the government. I think everyone's looking for our details. And now I've just gone on YouTube. I've bared my soul. I've told everything about myself. I've, you know, I'm just opened up. Um, so that was the reason I started it was just I thought, you know, my confidence has grown so much since that first video. I was just this not meek, but this nervous, like I don't deserve a place in the world. Who wants to listen to me kind of thing to now a, a confident, relatively competent um, person who's able to sort of, you know, give her views and opinions and just some talking pieces about what's going on. So I do 2 videos a week. The Saturday, Sunday video is just about my weight. I tend to go through mood, hunger, cravings,
Mhm.
sleep, calories, exercise, non-scale victories and goals. So I do all of those every week and then I give my weigh in. And then the midweek musing, which I tend to do on a Wednesday, is where I go on a bit of a deep dive into the mental health or the mental
Mhm.
aspect of weight loss and why did I get here? Why did I allow myself to get 100 pounds overweight? You know, what in my history, what in my dysfunctional way of dealing with my emotions led me to that. And you know, if something comes up, you know, if you find if you want like crunchy food, you know, okay, you want crunchy food. Is there a reason that you want crunchy food? You know, is it linked to anger? Is it led to shame? Is it, you know? So I just kind of give like my opinions. It's not psychological advice. I worked in a psychology organization for 12 years, 13 years, and I
Mhm.
worked for the psychologists. So I've picked up some, you know, stuff of their language and things like that. So I'm not ever giving advice, and I don't ever want people to think that I'm giving medical advice, but I am using the tools and the information and just
Mhm.
question it. Be reflective, you know, like if something's coming up or and you want to reach for food, what is that emotion that wants to reach for the food? And so, yeah, so like I said, I do a weight loss on the weekend, and then I do this what I call my midweek musings midweek. And then the last 2 weeks, it was about the price increase. So it's not always about the psychological thing. It's just about whatever is relevant and what I have a talking point on.
Is there a video that you're most proud of, and is that your most popular or
Um, my most popular one at the moment, I believe, is still the Manjaro. Is it worth it? Um, Yeah, that one obviously because I think people maybe that must be a search term that people are putting in or whatever. The one I'm most proud of is from a couple of weeks ago, and it's where I put myself in my underwear on camera and I expose my saggy, baggy, crepey skin to show this is what 100, well, nearly 100 pounds weight loss looks like, 80 pounds weight loss looks like. You know, and if you're in a menopausal body and you've been overweight for a significant period of time, you need to let go of the illusion that you're going to be, you know, Pamela Anderson in her
Mm-hmm.
Baywatch days when you lose the weight. But you can be happy. I am saggy, baggy, flabby, whatever you want to call
Mm-hmm.
it, crepey, but I'm the happiest I've ever been in my body. And that came across on that video. I think that, you know, it's warts and all.
Oh,
This
that's
is
great.
who I am, how I am. And you can look like this too, but still feel okay about yourself and still feel that you have made a great achievement in your life. And there's surgery if you can afford it. You know, so yeah, that's my proudest one, I think.
I had one person tell me that they're going to take their saggy skin, tie it in a bow, and throw it over their shoulders.
Yeah,
Wear it proudly.
yeah. Yeah, I'll bring it all up to your
So
neck and wear it as a bow tie, so
there you go. So what would your best advice be to somebody thinking of starting or that just started on a GLP-1 medication?
before they started, I would say do your research. You know, dedicate 1 month. Everyone wants to start it tomorrow once they've made the decision, but do your research. Look at lots of different people's vlogs. How have they dealt with it? Be prepared for some side effects. You know, whether you get all of the positive ones or all of the negative ones. Excuse me, I've got hiccups. Do your research. Think about how it could impact on you. And, you know, is this something that you're ready to commit to? You know, is this because you don't want to start it and like run out of money after a couple of doses
Mhm,
or things like that. But yeah, if you feel it is the right thing for you will find somebody that you can relate to. You will find somebody who looks like you, and you will find somebody who has had the results that you're hoping to have. And I would say reach out to people because I kept mine a secret for so long. I was so
mhm,
embarrassed because the UK didn't really talk about it. Nobody was on it. Nobody was doing it. When I started, there were about 3 vlogs in the UK, of UK users. Now there's 4 million. I think everyone who's on
mhm,
it is vlogging at the moment, and more power to them. Um, but yeah, just make sure you know what you're getting into, and more importantly, scratch all of that. More importantly, don't do it to just not eat and lose the weight quickly. That's because that's just a recipe for
mhm,
disaster. Eat healthily, use it as a tool to learn how to eat healthily, in balance, proportionate of what you know. We all know what good food is. We all know
mhm,
what a portion size should look like, you know. And if you don't, look it up because you'll find it somewhere. But don't just not eat. You will do that in the beginning because everyone does that in the beginning. It's just you're so happy to not be being ruled by food all the time. Um, but yeah, and stick with it. Just if you apply yourself and keep doing your research, stay on top of it, look at what to do dose wise before you jump up to the next dose. Um, I think it's a great tool for everybody.
mhm. And other than our channels, are there any favorite YouTube channels on GLP-1s that you are your go-to channels?
There's too many. There's too many. I don't want to miss anybody that I follow. Um,
Very diplomatic.
yeah, but there's definitely 1 or 2 in the UK that I don't approve of and I think are dangerous.
Mhm,
I won't name them for obvious reasons, but funnily enough, that other people have started talking about it. So I'm hoping that people will pick up and start to avoid it because, like I said, those are the ones that are talking about eating like only half a pork chop, or like 2 seafood sticks, or a teeny tiny little bit of food. That is not what this medication was intended for. And
Hmm.
I don't think anyone should be advocating that and then saying, "Oh, don't listen to me, just do what you want." But people do take those types of things on
Absolutely.
board, So, but yeah, there's loads of really good YouTube channels out there, and I follow a lot of American ones as well. I follow
Hmm.
you, I follow Brittany Rose, I follow
Hmm.
Dr.
I'm
Bobby, who
being
you had
interviewed
on
by her
just.
in a couple weeks.
Oh, okay. Oh, lovely. Yeah, very nice. Yeah,
Uh,
Dr. Bobby was on with you the other day. I follow Dr.
hmm.
Bobby. Um, I'm trying to think who else I follow in the US, but yeah, but no, I split my way, over everybody. I can't do everybody every week,
Right.
um, but yeah, you know what they're like. You pop up and you have a look. So yeah.
So, any closing remarks? Anything you want to add?
Well, congratulations on your weight loss, and
Thank you.
on your channel as well. It's nice
Thank
to
you.
sort of have these podcast ones as well. I like these because I often wonder if I'm just getting repetitive by doing the same type of thing every week. Obviously, with you, you're doing the interviews. You talk about food. You talk about your journey. You cover a wide range of subjects, and so well done to you. I think that's brilliant, and
Thank
I
you.
hope you continue to grow. But no, I would just say, if, like I said, if you are thinking about doing this, just look at who can help you, who's going to be the best fit. There's so much stuff out there. It amazes me when people ask questions in the comments about you know, what do you think this is, or do you think that, and it's like, well, first of all, I can't give you advice, so I'll talk around what
Hmm.
it could be and that you need to seek it. But people clearly haven't done any research. They've just bought the
Hmm.
the thing. And one question was, how do I inject this? I'm like, good grief, you've got an instruction leaflet that came in your packet
Hmm.
that you should have read for your own health and well-being. So but yeah, I'm surprised, but I think that's going to be more and more as the numbers in the UK of people taking it have risen astronomically. So
Right.
we'll see what happens after tomorrow with whether people stay on it. Uh,
It'll still go up.
yeah,
That's why I do a lot of people in the UK interviews, because it's, for lack of better terms, I'm going to say like 6, 8 months behind the way
yeah,
we are
totally.
here.
Yeah,
Is for, so like I want to also educate them and have,
yeah,
people that look like them on my channel, uh,
yeah,
live in the same type of cost of living type of thing and so forth,
yeah,
and how they're dealing with it and so forth.
yeah, yeah. But no, you're doing a great job, Laurie.
Well, thank you. And Ginger, I want to thank you for giving up part of your weekend to do this. It's been a pleasure. And pretty much that's going to be a wrap.
Okay, my pleasure. Thank you very much for taking the time to spend with me, Laurie. I
Mm,
really appreciate it,
mm.
and
Thank you.
yeah, look forward to seeing it. When do you think it will